What's up everyone, it's Arcadenaut here, and I'm really enjoying what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth presented so far. This video will be all spoiler free, I won't be talking about any of the main story contents, boss fights or whatsoever, and focus only on the aspect that I really want to talk about today. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for around 40 hours already, doing each and every side content, exploring every corner of this well-crafted universe. However, even when I was doing side content and exploration in the first grassland region, I found myself comparing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI a lot. Not their combat, not their level design or boss fights, but mostly on how they handled the world setting and the character dynamics in general. Although both games have divergent paths in their presentation and narrative focus, I believe Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does an excellent job at keeping the balance between humor and drama. Unlike Final Fantasy XVI, which totally denies any kind of humor, saying that its grimdark world has no time for such amusements. So today, let's talk about how wrong Final Fantasy XVI's approach was, especially when compared to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, continuing the legacy of its predecessor, manages to weave a narrative that is both epic and personal without losing sight of the series' roots in whimsy and adventure. Meanwhile, Final Fantasy XVI opts for a more somber tone, embracing a grimdark atmosphere while compelling in its own right, sidelines the whimsical and light-hearted moments that have been a staple of the franchise. That is a directional decision by the developers. However, the Final Fantasy series has always been a blend of light and dark tones, meaning drama and humor, realism and magical. Crafting a grimdark, merciless world doesn't mean that there is no place or time to have humor or light-toned moments. As one of the darkest stories of the series, Final Fantasy VI does this balancing again in a well-crafted way, presenting both heartbreaking and humorous moments to make itself memorable and also visually charming. And truth be told, I feel the same tone as I play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Of course, the original Final Fantasy VII also has the same kinds of a balance, but Rebirth here does it in a new, charming and memorable way, by presenting side contents that lead to bigger events that are key elements of Final Fantasy franchise, or through crafting genuine character dynamics, expanding their inner worlds, values, and the characteristics of the original Final Fantasy VII characters. This careful balance of dark, tragic storytelling with vibrant, life-affirming side content and character interactions provides a compelling contrast to Final Fantasy XVI's unrelenting grimness. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does a remarkable job of weaving a complex narrative that is as much about hope and resilience as it is about loss and defiance, while putting a smile on your face, making you feel sympathetic to the characters as you progress more and more. First, let's talk about the open world elements of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, presenting a light-toned narrative mixed with expanding world setting. Before talking about one of the side contents that lead to an important, well-known figure of the Final Fantasy series, be sure to skip this part about Protorelics and move on to next section of the video, which is about the aspects of the open world, if you are trying to avoid any kind of minor spoilers about the elements of Final Fantasy universe. These Protorelics, starting from the grassland region, add an archaeological dimension to the game. What starts with an encounter with the band of thugs of Final Fantasy VII Remake turns into something more, revealing an iconic character, a summon of Final Fantasy universe called Gilgamesh. With the first Protorelic we achieve, Gilgamesh reveals itself as a mysterious figure. As we move on to Junon region, we found out there is another Protorelic to collect that leads to one of the fan favorite minigame, Fort Condor. We see Cloud, Barret and Tifa in their PlayStation 1 polygonal form encounter with Gilgamesh in Fort Condor, trying to reclaim Protorelic within this polygonal tower defense minigame. The whole Protorelic side content is a genius way to blend nostalgia, a beloved Final Fantasy character, And also a fan favorite minigame that goes really well with the whole ambience of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Besides the Protorelic content, we also get to catch our chocobos with different abilities in each region. Customize their appearance if you really care about how they look like, and then even get to discover Moogle shops, rare monster battles, crystals that appear through the live stream of the planet. At this point, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth really gave me the vibes of Final Fantasy VI, whether it be the whole discovery and rewards or the narrative that is implemented. It knows when to add its humor, whether it be Cloud trying to catch Moogles to bring back to their home, or Yuffie talking about creating shadow clones of Cloud to make their journey easier when they fight against fiends or against the forces of Shinra. All these elements, the change of soundtracks when you do a light tone side story, or when you trade your Moogle medals for character upgrades, and hearing the well-known Moogle theme from Final Fantasy VI, I felt like these aspects are what make a Final Fantasy experience quite memorable. Sometimes a well-written comic relief character or a moment that brings fresh air to the grimdark and drama-filled moment. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it is these tiny yet charming moments that strikes the deal. At one time you find yourself Red 13 dress up as Shinra soldier to play Queen's Blood to challenge Cloud, and next you find everything going sour really fast. Whether it be Kefka doing mischief or Yuno and Tidus laughing hysterically, these moments all have their own purpose to fill, their own way of balancing the flavor, the light and the dark within the Final Fantasy journeys. And this is what Final Fantasy XVI totally missed, and purposely avoided. According to Final Fantasy XVI's director Hiroshi Takai, he just can't imagine that a protagonist bearing such a harsh fate and someone like Clive, who feels like he has lost his humanity, would want to play a puzzle game that doesn't match his goals, or relax and go fishing. Well, the whole concept, the main idea of Final Fantasy VII is about loss and how to cope with this feeling. Whether it be loss of someone you love, your country, your past, or even yourself. However, on the other hand, Final Fantasy XVI never falls short when it's about the side stories. Side missions that are crafted quite similar to the MMORPG experience Final Fantasy XIV. As far as I've seen, it's not just me but a lot of people grew quite bored of Final Fantasy XVI side stories as they continued further into the game, as these side missions are rarely rewarding for your progression and often felt like open world content just to lengthen the gameplay time after all. And there is another aspect that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth brilliantly shines. As I mentioned before, during a side quest, a character from Final Fantasy VII Remake can appear and extend the whole character development of itself. The battle theme or the open world soundtrack can change exclusively depending on the side story you do. You may find yourself turning into frogs with your teammates to complete a minigame just for fun, all while our Final Fantasy VII Rebirth team tries to prevent the planet from dying. And let's imagine you are really not into these minigames, and it's totally fine. You may enjoy the narrative expanding side contents like Protorelic, or the side stories including important figures of this universe. And if you don't want to deal with these minigames, you can either just go for the first possible reward and be done with it, or just avoid it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth never forces you to complete these minigames, but if you do, you are also well rewarded with accessories, character upgrades, and so on. As a matter of fact, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth shines in its commitment to delivering a multi-faced experience. It is a testament to the idea that a story can be amusing, serious, and engaging, while still offering players moments of levity and joy. Each moment of joy is also full of challenges if you seek it. Each minigame leads to something bigger if you are curious about it. And that's not just it. The whole Gold Saucer sequence that is expanded from its original iteration is a world of entertainment, showing another side of the world setting of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, housing a plethora of minigames that players can easily lose hours in. As an amusement wonderland, Gold Saucer offers classic arcade-style games to new additions. It provides a wide array of activities that cater to different playstyles and preferences, not only in terms of minigames and the rewards you can get, but also in terms of design and character dynamics that you can experience in Gold Saucer, a section of a flawless narrative of Rebirth experience. And in between, the characters play a crucial role, again, in balancing the game's more serious undertones. Unique moments such as the banter between Barret and Yuffie, or a cute date between Cloud and Aerith or Tifa, they are all highlighted as examples of how the game breathes life into its characters, making them feel more relatable and endearing. These lighter moments are essential in providing a reprieve from the main narrative weight, showcasing how to craft a memorable and emotionally engaging story. Well, what do you think? Have you been enjoying Final Fantasy VII Rebirth side content so far, or are you just trying to finish the story first? Share your opinions down below. As always, thank you for watching today's video. Any humble support through Patreon or YouTube join are really appreciated. More will soon to come. Stay tuned.